talking about a hot topic that I see inside my Saddle Up for Second Grade Teachers Facebook group pretty regularly, and that is interactive notebooks. Interactive notebooks are not just cute, like flip-flap activities that your kids can do. They're not just pieces of scratch paper, and they're not just something cute for kids to do. Interactive notebooks are a way for our students to express themselves creatively. They're a way for our students to be able to take notes and apply and practice concepts that they are currently learning. So before we get started, my name is Marcy Bernithi, and I am the teacher author behind saddleupforsecondgrade.com. This is going to be part one of a 3-part video series that I do over interactive notebooks. So be sure and hit the subscribe button below so that you don't miss out on anything. So let's dive in and get started. So why are interactive notebooks important? Well, the first thing is kids love them. I don't know if I've ever had a student really not enjoy them. They find them engaging. It's different from a traditional worksheet, and kids can also kind of take that and they can make it their own. But probably my favorite reason why I enjoy interactive notebooks is because it can be a tool or a form of assessment that you can refer to all year long. You can take an interactive notebook and you can see student progress all throughout the year. You can take their interactive notebook and you can take it to parent meetings, you can take it to RTI meetings, you can see student growth throughout the year, and so much more. A common question that I get asked is really just, how do we get started? What materials do I need? Do I need to use a spiral notebook? Do I need to use a composition notebook? And so part one, what I'm going to talk about today is just how to get started with interactive notebooks. What are some of the materials that you need? And then later on in my next few videos, I'll kind of dive deeper and share some tips and tricks for using interactive notebooks, along with different ways that you can use them. So the first question that is always up for debate is, do I use a spiral notebook or do I use a composition notebook? I think that there's pros and cons to each one, and I'm just going to kind of talk about each. So I always used a spiral notebook simply because the pages are larger. A lot of teachers tend to say they don't like to use spiral notebooks because the pages can tear out so easily. But I really never had an issue because, like anything else, you have to be able to teach your students how to use interactive notebooks. You can't just expect them to know how to take care of it. So that is something that when we first start using our math journal as a tool, we practice, how do we take care of it? How do we put it up? How do we put it in our desks? How do we, wherever you're storing them, we practice how to properly take care of them. So, and what I found is that as long as you're teaching your students the proper way to use them, I never really had a big issue with pages tearing out. Another reason why I chose spiral as well is simply because the pages are larger and there's more space to work with. But again, this is just personal preference. I always used a spiral, but maybe you want to go the composition book route, and that is absolutely okay too. A pro to composition books is that obviously the pages are bound, and so they're not going to tear out as easily as it would with a spiral notebook. Now, a downfall to using a composition notebook is that the pages are smaller. So typically, if you were to, let's say, print out an interactive activity, which in my guided math units, doesn't matter if it's first, second, or third grade, all of my units include interactive notebook activities. So let's say, for example, I'm just going to randomly pick one here. So let's say, for example, you are downloading and printing out one of my interactive notebook activities. So these are made to fit a standard sized spiral notebook. If you are using a composition book, because the pages are smaller, what you would have to do is you would have to go into your print settings and you would have to reduce the page size. And I believe you can kind of play around with it depending on the kind of printer you have. Typically, you can reduce anywhere from 75 to 80%, and that will shrink it enough to where it fits comfortably inside of a composition notebook and pages aren't hanging out the edge and things like that. So that is just another thing to consider. Again, it's completely a personal preference for what you decide to use. Another thing that I would recommend is I do mine on the front, like the inside front cover. You could easily do yours on the back, but these are just, I believe these are like 6x9 manila envelopes, and I use the Scotch brand, like the heavy duty tape, so that it says it's 50% more adhesive, and I've never really had an issue with this tape. And so what I do is I tape the envelope face down, so where the flip flap, they can lift it up and down, and then I tape all around. And so then any extra pieces that they have, maybe they don't finish something, maybe if something comes unglued or something like that and they need to glue it back in, all of their extra pieces can go inside the envelope. What I've also seen teachers do is use Ziploc bags where they either stapled or they taped the Ziploc bag. I just found that I liked the manila envelope better. I found that they were more sturdier. But that is an option that you can use as well. And so again, the tape that you can use regular Scotch tape. I just found that it's called Super Hold tape. It was more sturdier, and I wasn't having to re-tape envelopes very often. So the next thing that I do when setting up our interactive notebooks is I add a bookmark. And so you can use any kind of ribbon or yarn. I got this roll. This is gross grain ribbon. I got this at Walmart for maybe like $1. So I am going to link some in my Amazon store, but you can find a small roll of ribbon at your local Walmart or Target or any kind of craft store it's very inexpensive. I prefer I think it's called gross grain ribbon over like the satin because it sticks better with tape. And then it doesn't matter what length or what width of ribbon you get. This, I believe, is a 3/8 inch, but you can use any kind of ribbon. There's not any particular preference with that. And then what I use to attach the ribbon to my journals is I use this Super Hold tape again as well, so that it's got some extra adhesive. So what I do is I just cut a long piece of ribbon, and then I tape it up at the top. And so then kids can use this as a bookmark. So when they finish a particular page, then before I have them put their journals up, let's say, okay, guys, I want you to turn to the next blank page, and they can add their bookmark so that the next time they use their math journals, they know exactly what page they can turn to. Because sometimes you're going to have kids who take their math journal and they are just going to like randomly open it up to a blank page. They're not going to care if there's like 50 other blank pages in between the last activity that they did. And so by having the bookmark, it keeps them from just starting in a random place, and then you can keep the activities that they do, it can kind of be more in order so that it's easier for kids to use these as a reference tool and to look back on things throughout the year. That is how we get our interactive notebooks set up. That's how we get started. So don't forget to hit subscribe below. Feel free to leave me a comment and I will be happy to help. All right, guys, you have a blessed one, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.